Imagine paying a monthly subscription to be able to use one of your car's essential accessories. And for some, this was a reality. Others took to different actions to save on these costs by installing aftermarket heated seats into their vehicles. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to do just that. Also, stay tuned to the end to see how our test drive goes. You're not going to want to miss it. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Joe. I'm here at Carmel Car Audio. I've been doing mobile electronics for years now. Absolutely love it. I've done everything from backup cameras, radios, underglow, remote starts, custom builds, all sorts of stuff, you name it, and obviously heated seats. So make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and stay up to date with everything that we're doing here, showing you the really cool things I get to work with and bring it to you guys so you can be DIYers and we can build the mobile electronics community together as a whole. So nowadays, most vehicles come with heated seats, but if you're watching this video, you probably landed in the unlucky bunch that either has too old of a vehicle or didn't get the submodel with heated seats. I personally believe that everyone deserves to have that comfort and the luxury, and not just those willing to pay a nominal fee every month for something that's already equipped in their car. But did you know you can install these winter essentials by yourself? That's right, DIY. You don't have to take your vehicle to a shop to get the project done, but I would highly recommend doing so because this project can take well over a few hours if you don't have the proper tools or knowledge. Now it might sound high, but generally speaking, we're talking anywhere between $200 to four-figure number payment for heated seats to be installed by a professional shop. Now this all depends on the complexity, the wire management, the skill level the shop has, the placement of the controllers, what style pads you have, and so on and so forth. So it can take a different route depending on what you have and what you want. But today, I'm going to show you how to do it yourself at home, and I'm even going to show you all the tools and necessities that you're going to need. So follow me to the back, my light shut off. So you're going to need a couple impacts, a drill with Phillips, a drill with a step bit, and corresponding sockets to remove your seat, flush cuts, crimpers, and wire strippers, and you'll need some zip ties, which I failed to mention. Panel removal tools and a seam ripper. You'll need Super 33 Plus tape and Teflon tape to make it look pretty, a scan tool, and a multimeter. You'll need a source of light, and you'll also need a relay. I'll get more into that a little bit later. You'll also need a wire brush and self-tappers for your ground. And then you'll obviously need your heated seat pads. And my favorite, a little helper. So with all that said, let's get to it.
Step 1.
So first things first, we are going to make a game plan. He's already got it installed on the driver's seat, so we're going to do the passenger seat for him. We're going to figure out, okay, this is the seat that I want to install the heated seats or the heated pads, and we're going to figure out where we're going to put the button to control the heated seats. To keep things simplistic, he has it right here on the other side, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to mimic it and make it look identical. On your vehicle, if you don't have hard plastic, you're going to find a way of putting it somewhere on the dash or somewhere on like the center console, somewhere that works. And then the second part of this is finding an ignition source. Does your car have a true ignition source? So with that being said, the other thing we're going to assess is the bolts to take the seat out. I'm actually going to need my pry tool to get these covers off to figure out what size bolt, so I'll be right back. All right, got a nice little pry tool here. I'm gonna take this cover off. All right, so it looks like it's just a normal socket. It's not like a T45 or T50. With that being said, we know they plan to attack. We're gonna put the button here. I need to remove the seat. I will mention, pro tip, save yourself from calling Pop-A-Lock. Roll your window down before you start working on your car. I've done it before. I've locked my keys in my own car because my elbow bumps this. I lock the car and I shut the door and the window's rolled up and oh crap, my keys are stuck in it. Roll that window down, save yourself some trouble. Finally. As you can see here, I'm removing the other panel in the back. I'm gonna use the good old thumb trick. Imprint that indention on my thumb, go over, check my sockets, and that way I don't have to fumble around with a bunch of sockets, and voila, I got the right one. It literally takes forever for these things to move, dude. I hate it so. Alright, what I'm doing here is removing the harness with the might of Hercules, and other cars are easy, but this one was not. Removing that to get that undone to remove the seat from here to the bench. Alright, step one is done. Let's move on to step two, but before we do, let's do a little bit of a history lesson. I want to show you guys where the start of heated seats came from and actually how cool it really is. The year is 1951. The current president of the United States is Harry S. Truman. The cost of living is much lower than it is today, and life is good. A man named Robert L. Ballard, who was an engineer for General Motors, had filed a patent for something called the automobile seat heaters. I don't know if this man was in our favor or if he just really liked about toasty buns, but this was the first major heated seat invention, but for some reason it took 15 years for us to get some toasty buns in our car. The 1966 Cadillac Fleetwood, which featured the first heated seats in the front row for an extra $78.95. Now that doesn't seem like much, but today's standard that'd be $770, count for inflation. Just an interesting piece of history I thought you might want to know. Now, back to the install. Now that we finished up middle school history class, moving on to step
two.
We're going to install the heated seats in the seat. Yes. What we're going to wind up doing is we're going to remove the bottom and the top fabric. It does not matter which order you do it in, it's all personal preference. The only downside is the fact that this seat is motorized, so I cannot move this seat forward and backwards to get access to the flaps and actually remove the cover on this seat. So if your seat is motorized, you might also need one more tool. I want to show you the trick if you got a jump pack or if you got a battery, a little 12-volt battery that you have standing around at the house. Get yourself some wire. I got my jump pack here, which will send 12 volts. You're going to use your multimeter that is going to be set to DC, so DC volts. And you're going to test and find which one is your constant. You have constant power going to your seats. You're going to find your hot, find your ground. And make sure you don't flip them backwards. Get hot, get ground, and find the corresponding pins on the plug on the bottom of the seat. So here I'm getting the plug undone. And remember what I said about the power of Hercules? So from here, I'm counting the pins on the seat side and then also in the car side. This is where your trusty handy dandy multimeter is going to come and play. You're going to set it to DC volts and you're going to look for ground and 12 volts to figure out which one is actually powering the seat. And then I'm going to go back over to the seat and make sure that I'm in the correct pin position. This way I don't hurt anything and it gives me better leeway to work on the seat outside the car. Alright, so I verified that pin 14 is hot, and immediately to the left is also hot, the third one over, and the fourth one over are grounds. So I'm going to pin my third and fourth as ground, and my pin 14 and the immediate one to the left of it is hot, feed it 12 volts, and then I should have access to power the seat. And this will vary for every vehicle, so do your due diligence, be safe with it. If you don't feel comfortable, put the seat back into the car, plug it in, maneuver it, unplug it, bring it back to the bench. Negative terminal on my negatives here. Got my positives going to my positive terminal. All right, sending 12 volts and hey, look at that. Got power. This way I can move this all the way back and all the way forward. So we're gonna move it all the way forward for the time being. Disconnect these for now and let's get started. So I'm removing the straps and you can see that yellow plug. I'm going to undo that plug, and that is an airbag plug, and that's why we have our scan tool. Just in case we get an airbag code, we can remove it with the scan tool. But doing this gives me more access to the back and bottom of the seat, so I can truly remove the rest of it and get more leeway to work inside the heated pads. So this piece right here goes to the front side, and it looks like I have wires going through it. So I need to follow these wires and pull those wires out. Do the same thing on this side, pull it out and lean this all the way back and then shove this forward. So So I'm gotta remove the wiring because it is tied into and passes through the bottom of that padding or the fabric for the back of the seat. So once I get that undone, this gives me more room to work with the back of the seat. I've had to reinstall the jump pack and the wiring for the power of the seat so I can plug that in, lay that all the way flat, and give me more workspace to install the heated seats. So now that we have that loose, this is unclipped, I can pull this through. So there's no hog rings on this style car. Hog rings, I can show a picture right here. You got two metal bars that come across, so like one underneath the padding, and then one that's attached to the leather or the fabric. And then the hog ring goes in between the two, crimps down and holds the two together, creates a nice solid bond. If that is your case and you have this, you're going to cut the hog rings out. That way you can reach all the way up and get that full heating effect on this pad. I'm going to go ahead and get the pad, I'm going to put it in, I'm going to run it down, and then show you how simple it really is. So this is the contents of our heating pad. The controller, this is for an added piece I can buy later, not going to need that right now. Cheap zip ties and fabric, throw away, got my own stuff. This is your main power harness with its own relay, which we will wire in later, wire and fuse, and all its glory, your heating pad. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift this up and kind of just jam it in there like a turkey on Thanksgiving, okay? This is nice and flat. I've got the creases out. I'm gonna come back on this side and take my wire. I'm gonna shove it through, reach my hand underneath, kind of guide that wire, do the handoff. Now I've got it on the back side. You don't want to pull it too tight, you don't want to rip those wires, but you want to make sure that we don't have any bubbles or creases in the pad. So now that that's done, I'm going to take the fabric and re-push it through the seat. And the other reason why I like doing it this way, having it all the way forward, is whenever you go to run your wire, this is the tightest it'll be. So make sure you put that all the way forward, then run your wires. That way you know you have plenty of excess and you're not going to strip your wires or pull them out the first time you lean this forward because of whatever reason you're hauling, doing whatever, doesn't matter. Just make sure you have plenty of slack. We got one plug on the front, on the back of the seat done. We're going to run this. I'm going to run it with factory wiring. It's better to run it away from the airbag. That way you don't cause an accidental activation of an airbag and your whole seat's ruined. You got one little piece that burnt up and now your heated seats don't work. We're gonna run this down with factory wiring. And I'm gonna do another one right there. I'm gonna unplug this. That was so I can move the back of the seat. Run our wires back through this because that's how it was from factory. Do the same thing with the airbag. Put these clips back on. This is where the nice little big metal pry tool comes in. Okay, the first time you do it, they are tight. If you have a Jeep, Wrangler, Renegade, Dodge product, and you have the zipper that goes on the seat, it tucks in here and you gotta take this plastic off and you gotta get that undone on both sides. That zipper's fragile. You have to take your time. You do not take your time, you will break that zipper. If you need, grab your little helper and relax. It's all right. I'm gonna put this all back together how it was. This was over the airbag. Slide the safety tag back over, plug that back in. All right, so now we got the back of the seat done. I'm gonna flip this back over. I'm gonna do the bottom portion of the seat. I know this isn't part of the job, but my OCD, gotta make everything look pretty. Even though I'm not touching it, make it look pretty. So I'm going to get my pry tool. I've already got this side clip off, so I need to get these off, and sometimes you get lucky and you just do it with your finger. Dodge or Jeep Grand Cherokees or Wranglers, don't use your hands, use a pry tool. That metal is sharp. So now that I got those clips off, you can see the whole bottom of the seat is just, you know, wishy-washy, flippy-floppy. Lift this up one more time, good Lord have mercy. All right, so now start undoing the cushion. Push, push. All right. What we have here is a clip style. It's got an orange clip. Do not yank on this. You will remove that orange clip will come undone from that fabric. I'm gonna take this, my little pry tool, and try and relieve some of that pressure to where that comes undone, just like so. Do that all the way across the board. So now that we got our little clips out, I'm gonna lift this up. God, the struggle bus is real with this. Good Lord have mercy. Good Lord. All right, sweet. So now I can just fold this back. This is so much room to work with. This passenger seat does not have an airbag sensor. It does, but not in the sense of what I'm trying to explain. I'm gonna take our new pad. We're gonna run this in here. And I know with this seat, if I really wanted to, I can cut a section out and pin that back in. I'm not going to because of how tight this is, how much pressure it creates whenever it's tucked in and clipped in properly. This will be nice and smooth and I shouldn't have any bumps in the fabric. I'm just gonna cut this fabric off. If you wanna take the time and you wanna cut that out, you can. This car, I've done multitudes of. I can cut this out, put it down. I don't have any issues whatsoever. This is where I take my seam ripper. I can cut this little piece of plastic off. A retaining clip. Let me get some cutters. That one and this one. And we can leave this excess, like this little flap here, we can leave that, or you can cut as close as possible. Just don't cut at the seam. If you cut at the seam on this side, you will 100% see this start to rip and tear, and you'll get the old car effect on a brand new seat. With that being said, I've got this ran all the way back. I do have a notch. I need to straighten that out, make it nice and flat, make it even. Run this down. Once I have this, I'm gonna lift this seat up. I'm looking for a place to run this wire. I can run it down underneath and I can shoot it down right here. Clip that back in on this side. Okay, that's clipped back in. It's easiest to work from the edges this way and out. And don't be super rough with this stuff because it is still fabric, and fabric can and will rip if you use too much force. Okay, and as you can see here, just by me pulling a little bit of pressure here before it even gets to where it needs a clip, you can see that this still has a nice effect and look from the seat. So I'm gonna fold this back over, re-clip it, and then we get to do some wire management. To kind of figure out where I'm gonna run this, ultimately we're gonna have the end of the plug coming out this way, these plug together. I've got this side done. I need to do the button, which is right here. And now that we got the seat out, I can truly see I have plenty of room on this side. Once I cut this hole, I can't undo the hole unless I buy a new piece of plastic. Make sure before you cut, you know for certain it fits. So let me get my tool, drill with step bit, and get it cut. I've got my hole cut here, and I know I've done this kit many times. It is a 13/15, so I know once I hit the 13/15, I'm plenty big on the hole. One more step, I want to have a loose wobbly hole, and I'm going to have to get some CA glue, some super glue, something like that to hold it in. So feed this through, find the right orientation, pressure fit going. Bam, there we go. So now we got a functional button on the side of our seat. Looks like it's meant to be there. We have low and we have hot, and it will get hot. So now we've got the bottom, we got the back, and we got the button. We can go ahead and get our wiring harness that comes with the heated seats. I'm gonna run this up and underneath here, kind of with factory wiring. I'm gonna plug this piece in.
20 minutes later.
All right guys, so now we're done with step 2. I've done everything here, made it look pretty. I've zip tied, make it look like it's factory. I even went ahead and put some spades on this, or when they remove the seat, they can undo this and have the seat out without having to trace this wire down to the ground and the hot connection and make it a nightmare for the next guy who needs to work on the seat. With that being said, let's move on to step 3.
Step 3.
All right, so I've got the seat back in the car, taking the factory harness, putting it back into those factory clips. We're gonna put it back down and we're gonna test the back and the bottom, make sure all the functions are working as should. Then I'm going to bolt the seat back in, and after I get this other side in, my favorite part. So putting the seat back together, we're gonna go ahead and get started on the wiring into the relay. And instead of showing you in depth on this vehicle, I went ahead and found a cheat sheet for you so you can do it at home on yours. All right, so as you just saw, I'm wiring up a relay for the car. And the link in the description below is a diagram for the relay that I'm doing. So let's take a look. On the relay, we're gonna find a constant source, which is your 12-volt constant, a battery. Go ahead and fuse that. Now with your add a fuse off the fuse box, find an ignition fuse, run it here, take 85 straight to ground, and then you're gonna take 30 and hook that up to your power supply on your heated seats. That's it. It's super simple and it gets the job done and keeps everything safe. This thing's done. I've tidied that up while I was explaining the relay and how it works. I want to put this floor mat back in because this is the last piece to the vehicle. And now we get to do our double checks and make sure that everything works. Slide it forward, slide it back, up, down, make sure nothing comes undone. And then test drive. Okay, we got ignition. As you can see, it's hot. Green, which doesn't really show up on video. It's low. I'm gonna slide that all the way forward. And as long as I've ran it with the factory wiring, nothing should come undone. Slide that all the way back. And this is why it's important to leave slack on whatever you're doing, especially if it's a moving part. All right, so that's done. I'm gonna turn ignition off. Guys, it's been a very long day for me. So tomorrow, for me, is gonna be a couple hours. I'm gonna go to bed, wake up, come to work. Halfway through the day, guarantee you Carmel's gonna ask me, hey, you wanna go get some coffee? Make sure it's working properly while we go and grab some coffee for Carmel and possibly some for myself, depending if he's gracious enough to give me some cash for some coffee. Other than that, I'll see you soon. So for any of you that don't know, this is Carmel. He is the owner of Carmel Car Audio. And we are on our way to go grab some coffee. Went ahead and turned those heated seats on and we're gonna test them out. So what got you into this industry and how long have you been working in this industry?
I fell in love with this industry when I was about 14. I was in the back bedroom of my house and I heard this thumping noise, couldn't figure out what it was. And I'd hear it about the same time every day. Come to find out it was a kid from my high school with a pretty big system in his truck. Met up with him one day, saw it, absolutely fell in love with it, been infatuated with it ever since. Now it started a little bit different than what it is now. This was way back in 1989, so it's been a day or two. The whole industry has just progressed and developed over time, and I've got to watch it develop over the past 30 years, and it's very fascinating. Nothing like what it used to be, don't get me wrong, it was great back in the day, but technology has changed and so has the whole industry, so it's very cool, very fun stuff.
You don't sit in that seat very often, but compared to the factory, how is it working so far?
Oh, it's definitely nice and toasty. Nothing wrong with the factory. The factory is good and it does a good job, but these are so much warmer and they get hot so much faster. I do enjoy the factory and they're great, but if you're ever on a long trip, especially for back hurts, oh, it's night and day difference. I love the aftermarket a lot better.
20 minutes later.
Whew, hot buns and coffee.
But seriously guys, the upgrade's definitely worth it.
100%.
Coffee in hand, just got done with some heated seats, and it got me thinking about a YouTuber named Ryan Trahan. He made a video about solo camping in negative 18 degrees weather.
Are you scared of the cold, you little weenie baby?
Better you than me. But I was also thinking, would have been a lot better if he had some heated seats. So I'm going to need your help. Us here at Carmel Car Audio are willing to give him a free heated seat install in his vehicle. So let's band together, let's make it happen. Why not? All right guys, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. For those of you paying attention, comment down below how many times I said heated seats, and we'll give a shout out to the winner. And until next time, have a wonderful day. We'll see you then.
He not going crazy, boy.